Since we last talked about it, the 26-man roster has changed quite a bit. So Joe and I are going to go over our new and improved 26-man roster, and it's going to include the guy that apparently looks like me, according to the comment section, Rowdy Tellez. We're then going to talk about how this team matches up versus the rest of the American League West, and we're going to wrap it all up by talking about the new Mariners commercials that have come out. We're going to rank them one by one here and tell you guys which we think is our favorite. Just, a way to end this episode kind of fun. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 175 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav Network. The Traveling Irishman, Josh, the Kyle and Kendall, the Jacob, the JJ number 1 and number 2, the Paul and Nolan, the David Lee, and the Landon and Chrissy episode of the podcast. And I am here with Joe in my setup. Joe, I'm taking the hat off because I don't want to look too much like Rowdy Tellez. How are you?
I don't want people to assume that we got our first interview with a player on the channel and it to be just you disguised as Rowdy Tellez. Maybe that's a bit that we do. You dress up as Rowdy, and I dress up as Luke. That'll be perfect. The two left-handed first basemen on the Seattle Mariners. They're hosting the Hit It Here podcast in the coming weeks, guys. You heard it here first. I'm doing well. I'm sure both of you, everyone can hear that we're still both a little under the weather. I can't shake it, and I'm so mad. I hate being sick. It's the worst. And
Joe's the prototypical man when he's sick.
No, honestly, yeah. I'll break my leg and I'll still walk on it, whatever. I've never broken a bone, so I can't say that. But I would, But I'm sick. KO. Get me out. I don't want to be on this planet anymore. I can't take it. This is the longest I've been sick in a year. That's not true. 5 years. I don't think I've been this sick in a long time. But you know what is sick, Colton?
What's that?
Transitions go crazy. That you may get your wish this offseason, heading into spring training, heading into the regular season, that a new big beefy boy will be on the opening day roster of one of the 26 men comprising the major league roster for the Seattle Mariners. Obviously, that is Rowdy Tellez. You were teasing it during the game today, live tweeting Rowdy coming up with the bases juiced. And I didn't see any big notifications come after it. So it was just a sacrifice fly. But
he had a sack fly, and then Randy Arozarena got thrown out in a second.
Yeah, it was a sacrifice double play, which is kind of uncommon in that situation. When I saw this double play, I'm like, so no one scored. Why are they calling it a sack fly? And then I read the little breakdown, like, oh, Randy's just being silly. Rowdy. He's playing his way under the roster. Still, according to Fangraphs roster resource, it has not changed from the last time we spoke on the position player side. I can't speak for the pitching side because I wasn't super focused on it, but this 26-man roster, you said that we're going to kind of give our final thoughts on what we think it will be, not what it should be, right? What it will be. Mm-hmm. And there's been a lot of, maybe not a lot of, there just hasn't been any finality about Mitch Haniger. And this is a common topic that we've brought up throughout, the last couple of weeks or so about, is it Haniger? Will he start the year on the IL, and will it be Miles Mastrobuoni? Because I think that's just the final pivot that could be said for the position players, is subbing out Haniger for one of Mastrobuoni or Dom Canzone, but I doubt it'd be Canzone. It would probably be Mastrobuoni first.
Yeah, I haven't seen, the times I've been down here, I have not seen Mitch. Since it was said that he was injured, right? That he had this shoulder injury. I haven't seen the guy.
Yeah.
So I can't even say, oh, at least he's practicing, he might come back soon. Which leads me to believe that he's going to start the season on the injured list. I think that, again, whether it's an actual injury or if the Mariners are phantom ILing him, which is certainly possible, not they'd ever admit that, but it's certainly possible that it would be a phantom IL to get more ABs to Rowdy Tellez and to Miles Mastrobuoni at the start of the year, just to see what you have with them. The Mariners have until this weekend to make a decision on Rowdy Tellez, and he has an opt-out if he's not added, I think, at least to the 40-man, if not the opening day roster this weekend. And I think that, that's kind of the big move that's going to be made there, is Rowdy Tellez and Miles Mastrobuoni. Those two are going to be added to the list, who, when we made our 26-man earlier in the offseason, or earlier in spring training, we didn't have either of them making it. Now, as we sit here, a week away, as this episode gets released, a week away from opening day, I think both of them make this roster, and whether they be bench guys or rowdy DHs once in a while. Miles Mastroboni is left-handed Dylan Moore. I think that if we start with the bench, which I think is the spot that has the most chance to change, Joe. The bench, we know we have what, 4 spots
Yeah.
available. It's going to be Miles Mastroboni. It's going to be Dylan Moore. It's going to be one of either Rowdy Tellez or Mitch Garver, depending on who's there, and it's going to be like Donovan Solano,
Yep.
or whoever he's playing for that day. And so those are the 4 that I think it's going to be. It's going to be, again, Rowdy, Solano. It's going to be, who else did I just say there? Dylan
Garver
Moore
and Mastroboni.
and Mastroboni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
That's what I think it's going to be.
I don't disagree with you in the slightest. I think that group of position players gives them the best chance to win early on in the year. And given the circumstances of Haniger's injury, the fact that you haven't seen him, there hasn't been much development as far as positive news about it. And like you said, we're a week away. It does feel as though the IL is in his future, which is unfortunate for him as a player. For the Mariners as a whole, being competitive to start the season, it's not a bad thing, in my opinion. And again, Mastroboni coming out of spring hitting 400. Will he continue to do that into the regular season? Of course not. That's not the expectation. Would it be sick if he did? Of course. But it would not be the expectation. And so if he's not playing well, he does have an option, which we detailed last week or in last episode. And you could just send him down once Mitch is ready and healthy. I think the main part that we have not really discussed has been the bullpen. We know the starters. It's going to be Logan on opening day, and then Castillo, Miller, Wu, and then Emerson Hancock, more than likely rounding out the 5th spot there. I don't think they're going to give the nod to Evans, even though I know Ty wrote an article on Emerald City Spectrum for it, for just like, hey, give Logan Evans a chance. And we've had a conversation about it. I think the Marine Layer guys have also talked about it. So whether it's Evans or Hancock, that's yet to be seen. I would just assume it's Hancock because he pitched today, didn't he?
Yeah, and he pitched well too.
Okay.
Versus Jacob deGrom of all people.
Sure. So again, leaning on the side of experience in the MLB, Hancock probably gets the nod there. And then in the bullpen, how many names do you think you can fully lock in right now? It's Munoz, 1.
Mm-hmm.
Colin Snyder, 2. Gregory Santos, 3. You've looking at what? Gabe Spire, 4. Trent Thornton, 5. I don't think they do any weird end of spring training deals. After those 5, I think it gets a little touch and go with guys that maybe have options or people that are competing for spots. Are you looking at Taylor Saucedo being a 6th man there? Beyond that, I mean, Fujinami closed out the game that you were at today, and his control has been very erratic. But that's something that we've known about Fujinami ever since he came over to the bigs, to MLB. That's just been his big issue. He hasn't been able to dial it in. So with 2 spots, I'd say up for grabs, I think there's 3 or 4 names that do make sense to fill in those final 2. Who do you think has the leg up of the final 2 spots?
Yeah, I mean, Casey Legumina has been a guy that I've been really pulling for all spring. I know they like him quite a bit. They obviously, again, kind of have compared him to Paul Sewald, which is, impossible to compare a guy to what Paul did in his time here. But yeah, he's a guy that is like Paul Sewald, but throws harder. And so I think that he does have a pretty decent chance to make this ball club. Who are the other 3 that you're thinking of?
So Vargas, Bizardo, and maybe Fujinami was the other one that I was considering, because Taylor's not going to be ready, I don't think.
Right.
Obviously, Brash will not be ready. Obviously, Kowar's not there. Maybe Garcia.
No.
But he's like, I just feel like they're going to let him develop more. So maybe it was Fujinami as like the final one that I was thinking of, along with Bizardo and Vargas. I think Legumina is the correct answer for the 7th spot, in my opinion. From what we've seen out of him, from the comparisons, what you talked about, like how the org likes him, it seems like that is the trajectory for that spot. So with 1 spot left, I can say some other names to see if they stand out to you, but Cody Bolton,
Eh,
Hagen Danner,
no,
Will Klein.
no.
So outside of those, it's like you're not going to do. I don't know. Like I think that's it. I think those. I mean, those are the guys that are the remaining on the 40 man. You had Seth Martinez, and then you released him again, sent him to back to the Marlins, or I guess he just got claimed again. But you're not going to go with Blas Castano, I don't think, as like a long man out of the pen. Similarly, you're not going to do that with like Diaz or Evans or Casey Lawrence in any way. So I think the final spot would be Bizardo, Vargas, and then after those, it's like all the other players have options. Cody Bolton has an option. Hagen Danner has an option. Will Klein has two. Fujinami has two. They're not going to call up those guys to start. They're going to wait to see what they have out of Vargas, maybe, and then DFA him a month into the season, and then call up another reliever. Or they could play that, shuffling of the deck in the bullpen in at the end of April should an injury come around, or they have a stretch of 12 games or however many in so many days where they need to call up someone from the minors and then send them back down after they make an appearance. That's not something that I would be surprised to see happen with a guy like Klein or Fujinami. So I think the final spot, man, I just don't know who's looked better between Bizardo and Vargas. I feel like the easy answer is Bizardo. But for the sake of salvaging anything from the Geno trade, I want Vargas to not be nothing. But it seems like where he's at with his development and just how he has not been able to locate still, he just hasn't looked like anything that the Mariners had kind of dreamed on with him. It just feels like Bizardo's the easier answer and should be that eighth spot.
And we know that the organization likes Edward Bizardo. We know they like his stuff. They think he has really good stuff. It's just he hasn't been able to put it all together. And like you mentioned, like those guys are kind of just stopgaps. Like the seventh and eighth guy in the bullpen are stopgaps until Matt Brash, Troy Taylor, later Jackson Coar, later than that, maybe even Brandon Garcia or Hunter Cranton. Like
At the
until those guys are
deadline,
ready.
Ryan Helsley, of course.
Right. Yes, naturally. Yes, as he gets traded to the Mariners at the deadline.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I think that for those two spots, those two guys specifically, number 7 and number 8, which we have outlined as Legomina and Bizardo here, are probably just cleanup guys. They're
Yeah.
guys that don't really have a huge role in this bullpen. They're guys that are going to pitch when the Mariners are getting blown out or the Mariners are blowing somebody out. Otherwise, they're not going to get a whole lot of high leverage innings. Everybody else that bullpen, I could definitely see getting at least a high leverage inning here or there if you're in the right pocket of hitters, right? I could see Taylor Saucedo coming in to face a pocket of hitters that are two out of three of them are lefties. Like I think that is something that Dan Wilson may consider doing. Yeah, you're right. With that being said, there's really nobody that has stood out over those guys in
Mm-hmm.
spring training. And I think that's fine. I don't think that anybody has to stand out when you know that you're getting Brash back. You know you're getting Taylor back sooner rather than later. I think that you can carry those couple of guys for a month or two and be fine. And I think that for the bullpen, with a rotation that is going to be missing George Kirby to start the year, it's not like best case scenario, obviously. But it's not the end of the world if you have to carry a couple guys that probably aren't going to be with the team at the end of the year. It actually happens every single year.
Yep.
Like Ryan Stanek, think about JB Bukowskis in years past. Like usually by the second or third month of the season, the bullpen looks drastically different.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And I have nothing wrong with that. And because of that, I think those are the guys that start the year. I can almost guarantee to you the bullpen is not the same by the end of the first month of the season.
100%. I mean, even Legomina has an option. So if he pitches in back-to-back games and they've got another game coming up where there's like 3 in a row, like back-to-back series, he pitches in back-to-back games and one goes 15 innings. They need arms. They can option Legomina and then call him back up like immediately after the not immediately, you know what I'm saying? Just like kind of like flip the switch. You know what I'm saying? So there's flexibility within the bullpen, and even with getting guys like Brash, Taylor, even waiting on guys like Garcia, Cranton, that could open up an opportunity to trade someone from the existing bullpen as well in the middle of the season, like they traded Stanek last year. They traded Trevor Gott in the previous year. Thornton's probably the easiest one to do out of the bunch there, as I feel like he's in his last year of arbitration. I think.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Regardless, it's just if it's someone struggling or someone just doesn't fit the mold anymore, don't be surprised if, regardless of them getting sent down or DFA'd, if one of them is traded. That's just the nature of the game for the bullpen arms, and the Mariners have not shied away from doing that in years past either. So, like you said, first month of the season, these 8 names aren't going to be consistent. And then the following months either, that's not going to remain that way either. I think what the goal is with every single season is ironing out the guys that you do want in there from season's start to season's end, the anchors of your bullpen, the guys that you can depend on to go out and get outs in specific moments. And the thing that the Mariners struggle with a lot that I think would be their outside of the offense, because like duh, but the bullpen was definitely their one of their fatal flaws in 2024 when you're looking at games lost and situations that could have gone the other way. In 2022, the bullpen was lights out. 2023, I think 2023's bullpen was better than 2022. And I could be wrong on
Mhm.
the idea of, wins added or runs allowed, doesn't matter. But when I think about the 23 bullpen, I think it was better than 2022. 2024 is nothing compared to either of those. And so I think in 2025, a big reason why I think the Mariners could make a run at the division, like I've said for the last 2 or 3 years, is because if the bullpen is healthy, we know what they can do. We know that they're not going to lose as many games because inherited runners and just not closing out situations. And so looking around for, projecting out the American League West, I think the Mariners' biggest X factor, I might be willing to say that it's the bullpen as opposed to the offense. We saw that they were still able to win X amount of games with a terrible offense last year. They were 13 games over 500 with a 10-game lead with a terrible offense in the first half of the season. Yes, they fell flat on their face after that. And at the end of the year, when the offense did get rolling, they won they had a pretty solid winning percentage. They had one of the best offenses in baseball, but it still wasn't enough. And I think, living and dying by a great rotation and an offense that is going to not put up as many runs as you maybe hope. When you have that considered, the bullpen giving away leads that the rotation held with your offense only giving you a little amount of run support, the bullpen is going to be such a big factor for me in terms of team success for 2025 for the Mariners.
And I think that's something that we've looked at, in years past where maybe the Mariners have come up short, right? You look at 2014, the Mariners bullpen was stellar and they missed by 1 game. Unfortunately for the Mariners, last year it was a lot of those guys giving up leads late in the game. And with what they've built this year, again, this is a big if. If these guys stay healthy, if Gregory Santos stays healthy, if Andres Munoz stays healthy, if Matt Brash does come back healthy, if Troy Taylor comes back healthy, then yeah, this bullpen is in a much better spot than it was last year. When the Mariners added Ryan Stanek last year, I felt pretty good about it. Like it was like once we heard that Matt Brash was not going to be, making the team because he was going to be injured, that was the right move to make, to go out there and get Ryan Stanek. It didn't work out, but it was the right move to make. When we look around the league, right? When it like around the American League West, the Mariners have the best starting rotation.
Yes.
Not even close, even with George on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that obviously that rotation, if we're talking about the 26-man opening day roster, is Logan, Luis, Bryce, Brian Wu, and then Emerson Hancock more than likely is what we're going to see as the starting 5 to begin the year. They have the best rotation in the American League West. When it comes to the lineup, right, we're assuming that's going to be Victor in center.
Yep.
We're going to probably see Victor in right.
Whoa,
Julio
yeah,
in center.
sorry.
Whoa, wait a second. Cal batting third, catching. Randy batting 4 in left field. At that point, maybe we see like Luke Raley
Yeah.
as your first baseman there. batting sixth, we probably see like whoever the DH is,
Yep.
whether that's Mitch Garver or Rowdy Tellez. On opening day, probably Rowdy Tellez in this situation because it's going to be a right-hander in Luis Severino as long as he stays healthy to see opening day. After that, I would assume you're probably looking at some combination of Jorge Polanco and then Ryan Bliss and then JP Crawford.
Yeah.
That is what I would assume.
That is what Roster Resource has it laid out as, obviously with Mitch in there instead, but we all know our opinion on that. I think the group, like, there's groups of players that I think can have a lot more impact than maybe like the projection models are giving them, or just relative to our expectations. I think the outfield is the most talented outfield in the American League West, rivaled with the Rangers, probably, looking at Adolis Garcia, Evan Carter, and Wyatt Langford. You have the best player, position player-wise, in the American League West in Julio Rodriguez. So I think that elevates the Mariners outfield very, very easily. And I did a video about like breaking down each team by position and like total WAR with projection models in mind. I did that, probably like a month and a half ago at this point. So the Mariners were second in that projection model. They had, I think, 6 first places, mainly coming from the rotation. The 2 position players were Cal Raleigh catching. He's the best catcher in the American League West. And I mean, he's the best catcher in the American League. He might be the best catcher in baseball. William Contreras, listen, I understand William Contreras. Okay, I understand, but we're biased over here. And then Julio, he's the best center fielder in baseball. Jackson Merrill can lick my toes. I don't care. All right? I don't care. All right? The Vetter Cup is it's a competition between Julio and Jackson Merrill to claim fully, staunchly, the best center fielder in all of baseball. But the outfield group is exciting. Obviously, Cal behind the dish is exciting. The infield is where you're like, boy, what are we going to get out of these guys? Because around the rest of the American League West, I think the only team I'd put behind the Mariners as far as infield quality would go is the Angels. And even then, it's a little like, Zach Neto's good, but he's going to be out. Obviously, Shawnuel, good bat-to-ball skills. What is he really doing? Luis Rengifo is Barry Bonds. What?
Anthony Rendon.
Anthony Rendon, stop. It's Yoan Moncada. But the Athletics have a talented infield with Geloff probably on a bounce back. You're looking at Jacob Wilson at short being another great bat to ball skill guy.
He's gonna have a good year.
A lot of people are projecting it out to be that way. Soderstrom is a bit of a question mark at first base, but regardless, I think if you're counting, say, like the DH as part of it, Rooker is elevating the Athletics in that way, whereas DH for the Mariners is not necessarily as prominent. We don't need to talk about the Astros infield. It's good. And the Rangers, similarly, they're good. They're better than the Mariners. So how do the Mariners stack up? How do they take advantage? And how do they beat out teams that are better than them in certain aspects? Well, it's by being better than those teams in other facets of the game. We know that pitching is the strength. I think for the American League West, we start at the bottom because that's just the natural progression. And it's the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, of Disneyland, as you'd like to say. Ron Washington in his second year, right?
I believe so.
Second year. I think there's some excitement. There's some exciting parts of it, but the pitching is just so bad. Outside of, like...
But they added Kyle Hendricks.
Yeah, and Yusei Kikuchi's getting like $20 million. The pitching is just not in a good spot. Sure, Caden Dana's an exciting name. Spencer Aldegari, I think is his name, or is first name Spencer? Or am I just likening it to Arrighetti?
I think you're thinking of Spencer Arrighetti.
Is it Samuel? I
don't know.
Regardless, I don't even know if they're going to make the opening day roster for them. Let me go look to see what roster resource has for the Angels. But they're going to win less than 65. I think they still could lose 100 games.
Ooh, even with Soler and Trout.
Oh, they have, yes, Jose Soriano and Detmers as opposed to Aldegari and Dana, but still, it's not. When your rotation is led by Yusei Kikuchi, sure, he was great with the Astros after the deadline last year, but that's not who you want your ace to be. And obviously, big question marks with Trout. He's moving to right field, which I think would be better for him, but will he see over 400 at-bats? doubtful. And
As a baseball fan, I hope so.
exactly, yeah, you don't. I mean, Mariners fans, because he tortures
Yeah,
the
I don't
Mariners.
want to. I don't want to. Like, I hope he's hurt for every Mariners series.
Sure, but in the grand scheme, Trout having a healthier year is good for baseball. So I would pencil in the Angels at like 62 and 100. I think they still have the ability to lose 100 games.
Mm, yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that they are the bottom of the barrel in terms of the American League West. I don't know about them losing 100, but I think they might. Like, I think they lose over 90 for
Okay.
sure.
All right.
I might put the ceiling there at like 95. It doesn't matter. They're gonna lose a lot. They're a bad team. Number 4 in that regard, it's the Athletics again.
Mm-hmm.
They're moving to Sacramento. It's a bandbox. They're gonna. I mean, they're gonna hit. The Athletics are gonna hit in that Sacramento ballpark, and I think that is going to be one thing they have going for them. Like, you can't take the Athletics lightly in 2025. And like you mentioned, you got guys like Brent Rooker and Lawrence Butler and
Yeah.
Jacob Wilson. Like, they have some boppers on that team, and they're gonna hit the ball, and they're gonna hit it out of the ballpark in Sacramento. It's just not there yet. And they added guys like Luis Severino, who's going to help out that rotation, but they're just not there,
Mm-hmm.
not yet. But they're on the way. Like, when they get to Vegas, I think they could be.
Yeah.
I think they could be a team to look out for. But until then, I don't think so. We don't need to talk a whole lot about the Athletics, Joe. What really matters is the top 3.
Sure.
I think that you and I are both in agreement here that the Houston Astros are third in this division.
Yeah, it's real close though. Like the Angels are the bottom, losing anywhere between 90 and 100 games. I think the Athletics probably lose anywhere between 85 and 90 games would be my benchmark for them. All the 3 top teams in the American League West, I think their range is anywhere between 83 and like 90 wins is where I would probably put the benchmark, like the bookends for all of these teams. The Astros got worse. Altuve hasn't looked great in left. Whether or not that's a big factor in any way, shape, or form, but it hasn't looked like it's gone well. Christian Walker, there's a little bit of a health concern with his oblique. Will that linger into the season? I'm not entirely certain that the offense is going to be that much worse. Sure, you lose Bregman, you lose Kyle Tucker. It'll be worse, but it's not going to be. They're still going to be a better offensive team than the Mariners, more than likely, I think, with the additions that they did bring in. Paredes is a big one. I could see him sneaky leading the American League in home runs. Like, if Judge has a down year, Paredes bops like 45 out to the Crawford boxes. Sneaky, bro. Like, I could see it. Like, MLB The Show type numbers.
This is the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, the
I'm
Kool-Aid.
not drinking it. I'm
Dude,
putting it down.
it's such a perfect swing and such a perfect ballpark. Match made in heaven. Maybe 45 is a bit egregious, but
I think the Bellinger's a more perfect swing for New York.
interesting.
Thoughts?
That's fair. I didn't ask though. They're in the American League East, not the West, so it doesn't really matter. You're looking at the rotation, I think, as will Javier come back and be healthy and return to form? What version of the Astros rotation are you going to get? You're looking at Framber. Like, yeah, he's penciled in as another top 10 Cy Young, more than likely, all-star game type pitcher. Hunter Brown took a big step forward last year. Will he continue to take those strides? Ronel Blanco, I think, was a like diamond in the rough kind of situation for them. He was very good for them last year. I think it really does depend on the pitching health. Them losing Ryan Presley, I don't think it's that big of a blow. It's a reliever, yes. It's a leader in the clubhouse, but I think that they can probably they'll be okay in the pen with Hader and still with Brian Abreu. But I would put the Astros at probably 84 or 85 wins. Would be my strict guess.
And I don't disagree with that. Although, what's the name of the new stadium? Daikon Stadium or something stupid? Like,
Yeah, I think that's right.
That's gonna play a role.
You think that they lost
the
aura?
Name is stupid. Yeah, they lost aura. Like, everything about that stadium was about oranges. Now what?
Yeah,
and
but they've got a new City Connect that looks pretty good.
No, it doesn't.
You're lying that you don't think it looks good.
I don't like it.
That's crazy. I think it looks
I
good.
think that I think the old one looked better.
That's insane. No,
Yes.
no.
Let us know in the comments.
The new Astro City Connect is better than the Space City
Oh,
ones.
Strohs.
Yeah, it looks good. It's like I think Jake said that the hat looks like Star Trek. I think the whole thing is like nice futuristic Star Trek looking vibes.
The moon was only the beginning. I hate the Astros.
I'm well aware of that.
So anyway, number 2 in the American League West, Joe. Obviously, if we have the Astros here at number 3, and we agree that these teams are all going to be probably within like 5 games of each other.
Yeah.
Like they're all going to be pretty close. But number 2, I don't know if you're in the same boat, but I have the Seattle Mariners finishing
Yeah.
second in this division. I think that the Rangers do win this division. I think the Mariners make a wild card spot. Honestly, maybe like second or third wild card spot in the American League, and that may be as far as they go. But
Oh.
I think that they do make a wild card spot again with their pitching staff. In a wild card spot, they could do anything. Like,
True.
what's the mantra this year? Just get in.
Yep.
Same. Like, I think that if you have a 3-game series where you have Logan, George, and Luis Castillo going, you feel pretty good about that. And with this Mariners offense, especially depending on what they do at the trade deadline, because we all agree they need to make some big moves at the trade deadline, assuming that they are in the hunt. I think that the Rangers are going to have a bounce back year, and that's why I give the edge to them. They just have too much star power on that team with Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, Josh Young coming back. Adola's probably having a better year than he had last year. They added, like you said, Jake Berger and Jock Peterson.
Yeah.
Both guys are going to be able to hit some bombs for them throughout the season. I just think that their offense is better. If Jacob deGrom is anything like he used to be and he stays healthy, that's a great person to add at the front end of their rotation. Kumar Rocker, Jack Leiter, etc. Like, I don't know. I think the Rangers feel pretty good about where they're at, and I think that they do to end up taking this division.
Yeah, I'd put the Mariners at like 87, and I'd give the Rangers probably like 89 or 90. I agree with you pretty across the board. The thing that I think hurt the Rangers a lot last year, obviously offense took like a huge regression. They've mitigated that with
Which we
offensive.
knew.
Yeah, we knew it was coming. But they didn't do anything to rectify it in the offseason by getting ahead of the curve, right? They have done that with, like you said, Jock Peterson. I think Berger, it's not like, I don't think he's going to go crazy in Texas, but I think he'll be good for them. I think it's a downgrade from Lowe at first overall, but I think offensively it might be a similar amount of production. What I think will benefit the Rangers is it's another year of development for their pitching, where in years past, they didn't really have anyone to help fill in the gaps that was like super quality when guys like DeGrom would get hurt. Obviously, it's a big question mark with DeGrom. Tyler Molly's a big question mark. Nate Eovaldi's even kind of a question mark on their health. But now that Leiter's another full year developed, Kumar Rocker's another full year developed. Cody Bradford was great for them last year. I think he's starting the year on the injured list. They've got more options for depth should pitching injuries be a concern for them, which is why I think they're better suited for a long 162 where they can still win 90 games and they can sustain for longer, as opposed to the previous year where, yes, their offense is down and yes, their pitching might have been better, but it wasn't healthy. And that was the big question mark. I didn't even mention John Gray, who had a pretty scary incident in spring. Whether or not he'll pitch when or how, that's yet to be seen. The bullpen's a big question mark. They lost Kirby Yates, obviously, but they brought in Chris Martin, I think, or I don't know if he was there last year. I don't think he was.
No,
I don't remember. And then from the Nationals, Robert Garcia seems like a guy that they've liked a lot, and a lot of people are saying like that could be a big, like a good back end of the bullpen type pitcher. So the Rangers, I think, they're in a good spot.
They're just a more well-rounded team, in my opinion, and that's fine. I think that the Mariners, we all know they didn't do anything this offseason, and we all know how we feel about it. It is what it is at this point. There's nothing we can do about that. But what the Rangers have is they carry a lot of injury risk, and they have for years. Obviously, when your ace is Jacob deGrom, you carry a lot of injury risk. Corey Seager is a guy who has been often injured throughout his career.
Yep.
Like, I think that yes, on paper they are the better team, but if you told me at the end of the year the Mariners took the division or even the Astros, I wouldn't be shocked. And I think that that is just how up in the air the American League West is right now with the way these teams are set up. But Joe, the thing the Mariners do the best.
I'm so glad you said it like that. I was thinking the
Yes.
same exact thing.
The thing they do the best is their commercials. Mariners commercials, they took like a little hiatus there for a while, kind of around COVID times. But they came back last year, and while I honestly think that last year had some better ones, I think that the last two that we've seen over the last couple of days have been really good. 4 commercials total from the Mariners. Joe, let's rank them. Let's start at the bottom. What one would you put as of the 4, the worst commercial?
I have a question before we rank. Did they
Yes.
air any of the commercials in between like
Yes.
ad breaks last year during games? They did.
Yes, they
Okay.
did.
I don't know if it's because I was watching MLB TV or whatever, but I didn't
Probably.
ever see any because it was probably it wasn't like a local broadcast thing. Okay. That's good to know that they weren't just like skits, one-off social media bits. Like they're full-fledged, like they were used in between commercial breaks and stuff like that. Okay. So of the 4, we've got Ichiro Yoga. We have Cal and the Pitch Calm. You've got the outfield, like celebration for Victor. And then the first one was the starters. My list, I think, might be, I don't know if mine is going to be different from yours. I would put Ichiro Yoga at the bottom. I would put that at the bottom. I enjoyed that one the
Wow.
least.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
It's good.
crazy.
It's good. It's like an 8.5 out of 10. It's good, but that's the one I enjoyed the least.
Interesting. Okay. I thought that one was hilarious.
No,
And
it's
then
good.
Ichiro calling the GOAT
Goat
Junior.
Junior. No,
Oh, that's so funny.
it's very good.
I would put the starters one at the bottom.
Interesting.
I honestly don't think there was much to that. It was
Really?
like, okay, yeah, they don't finish things. Andres Munoz finishes it. Like I mentioned, I think in the last whatever we did, it kind of felt like a slap to the face a little bit of the starters. Like, hey, you guys never finish your starts. You guys can't throw complete games.
Mm.
Obviously, when you have Andres Munoz in the back end, you don't need to. But like, yeah, I was like, it's it's fine.
Sure.
But like, I think that the outtakes were the best part of it. The outtakes are the best part of all of them.
Yeah.
But like, that one specifically, the outtakes, in my opinion, stood well above the actual commercial.
Okay. All right.
What's your
Third,
number 3?
I would put the outfield, finding
I
Victor
would agree.
celebration.
Yeah, I think
It was good. Like, I think similarly, the outtakes, like George leaning, like that bit was really funny to me, and he kept like it was just they keep making the
Oh, I
same
did it
mistake.
again.
Yeah, well, I did it again. Yeah, it was just funny, and seeing George in that environment, I think, is something that I enjoy, just because I think seeing him out of his comfort zone's fun. But overall, I think the commercial. I mean, it was good. I don't know. I think it was fine. I'd give it like
Also,
an
can
8.75.
I give some insider information here?
Yeah, go ahead.
The Mariners' new celebration, at least for the outfielders, is going to be like a little step back.
A step
and,
back
like,
3
A step back 3, and then when they hit it, they go, ooh.
instead of the back and forth and like leaping out of it.
Yeah. So that's what it's going to be.
Okay.
Because I saw Julio and Randy working on it in batting practice the other day. They would
Oh,
like high five each other, and they'd be like,
interesting. We'll see
and
if
then
that comes to fruition.
when Victor hit his home run the other day, he did it at third base.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, keep your eyes open. That's gonna happen. I have video of it. I'll probably put into a video here soon. Number 2 on my list, Joe, is Ichiro Yoga.
Yep. I mean we're in agreement on the number 1. I think everyone feels that same way. My number 2 is the starters. I like the subtlety, finding out what the thing is that the starters don't finish. If I'm being honest with you, I don't know if I was colorblind for the first watch through, but I thought George completed the Rubik's Cube.
So did I.
And so then when I went back and watched it, I was like, oh wait, one's wrong. Like I didn't notice it at first. So I was like finding the subtleties. Like I had to watch it twice to really like pick up on every like little detail. I thought the Luis bit was a little jarring. Like it just kind of like was quick. Like I wasn't like, what is this supposed like? What does this mean? I was like, oh, he's just not finishing the movie. He's not, finishing it to the end, kind of a thing. But capping it off with Munoz at the end, I don't know, I liked the starters one quite a bit. The little subtleties and everyone kind of getting to be involved, I thought was good. The woo with the table one, like yeah, I liked it more than the Ichiro one, and it might be an unpopular opinion, but that's where I stand.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that again, the outtakes for that one, like JP setting the leg, he had starters setting the leg that's missing on the table and having the table fall over, gold.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's hilarious. Obviously, Andres at the end, and in the outtakes, like he's like feeding Tucker.
Yeah,
Like that is just peak. But Joe, that leaves us with one. What is our number one?
it's the clicker. It's the pitch com with Logan and Cal. It's the best one. It's you get like that buddy dynamic. The I think the outtakes may influence me a little bit, but when Cal kept squinting and they're like, "Don't squint," he goes, "It just feels like such an evil thing to do." Like it's so good. It's such a well executed commercial and like just little bit to show off Cal and Logan's relationship and the idea of like not shaking Cal off, and like it's well known that like you don't shake Cal off kind of a thing. And yeah, it's just it was the best one that they've come out with this spring.
Yeah, I think that of the ones that we watched, like Cal like peeking over the thing,
Yeah.
that's so funny. Like I feel like that would be a great gif, like later on this season,
Ooh, yeah.
or maybe even like Logan like pouring the fries back in, going like that might be a great gif. I think that it
I
was
think Jage,
Jage.
yeah, the run
Yeah,
support, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was a pretty good one already. So, honestly, some good gifts out of this one, like George saying, "What the bleep are you doing?"
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like that's so funny. I already saved that video. It's ready for use throughout the season. Whenever Julio strikes out or something, I'm gonna post it or something like that. But yeah, just I mean, all around, Mariners commercials being back are such a big part of Mariners fandom. I'm just super excited that we got to see Cal and Logan together in the final one as the best friends they are. But that is going to do it from us here on episode 175 of the Hit It Here podcast, the Zyrtec episode of the podcast. And go Mariners.